Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. So these last two we got is our first foray into that C-ish class.
Yeah.
So like 1960s builds. And we when we were crunching the numbers, we set more aside because we're concerned about like the maintenance repairs.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm wary of saying this because I know that somebody insurance is going to be listening, but I think one of them has asbestos siding.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, that's wow.
Or at least the look-alike. At least the look-alike.
Well, you're talking about that. You're talking about the big like shingle-looking things. Yeah.
Like the big planks on the sides of the house.
Right. Yep. They're now they make identical, as you probably know, they make identical the identical thing, but it's made out of a concrete board instead of asbestos now. Because I have one that has the asbestos siding, and it's okay, and it's okay as long as it's not disturbed, right? So as long as it's not cracked or broken or anything like that. So it's like, let's make sure we don't crack or break any of this. And then that makes it also, it also brings up, should you side over it? And then there's a lot of different things you have to do and some hoops you have to jump through if you want to side over it legally, I guess. So yeah, we haven't. We just like, we're gonna take our chances and not cracking it or busting any of those, and hope it's okay for now.
Yeah, we had somebody covering it up, and it was like, what do you mean cover it up? Which I guess is the siding over it.
Right.
But I mean, one of the houses already has like 20 layers of shingles. Maybe not really 20, but it's a lot.
As the siding of the house, or
no, like on the top. And so I'm thinking, if we start adding to the outside, we may not ever have to put any more insulation in.
That's a good point. Hey, what kind of insulation does that house have? Oh, asphalt shingles. Asbestos siding.
But I've been really surprised at the cash flow difference.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the ones that we just got, even after repairing, they're going to cash flow about, I don't know, let's see, we're paying around $55 for them, and they're getting rents anywhere between $650 and $750. So, I mean, they're going to cash flow like 3 times as much as our B classes.
That's nice. Yeah. And it's, I evaluate based on, well, in a multifamily unit, you call it a cap rate, right? But I evaluate based on cash on cash return. So even if I do a BRRRR method and I buy it, rehab it, rent it, and then refinance it and get an actual mortgage on it, I calculate before the mortgage. I calculate a cash on cash return. And in my areas, even when I'm assigning and wholesaling in those areas, I'm making my offer so that whoever buys it can get about anywhere between a 15 and 20% cash on cash return. That's just standard. That I won't even consider something. And I've got buyers when I assign properties. I've got buyers in those areas. They won't even consider anything under 20%. So it's like, what are you talking about? This is 18.9%. I don't care. It's not 20. Like, okay, well, you could probably, I'm very conservative on my rehab costs when I do my rehab estimates and things. I overestimate some things. I build in my contingencies as I'm doing that. And so I'm like, look, you could probably get away and make it'd be a 20%. He's like, nope, I like your numbers, but the purchase price needs to be lower. Dang it. It sucks. But I don't know. So I know some people base their rentals on what's my dollar per door. I got to make $400 a door or whatever. That's not me. I want a certain percentage. In nicer areas, obviously the percentage can be lower, but that goes hand in hand with what you're talking about, right? Your B class properties might have something close to an 8 or a 9% rate of return. If not, and you're getting high Bs into low As, you're probably looking at 3%, which you might as well just stick your money in a bank. I mean, at that point. But anyway.
Yeah, well, we're excited to try out this new class, and honestly, it was moving into the commercial banking side of things that was super cool.
Yeah.
It is so much more flexible.
Really?
Like, oh my God. So we've always done traditional, always. And then we let them build up equity, then we cash out, refi them or whatever. So
Mhm.
we had 2 investment properties here in town before we got the other portfolio. And we go to the commercial banker and he's like, I could do desktop valuations. And we were like, oh, rock on.
Okay.
And then he was like, and we could do an equity line of credit based on your investment properties. And it was like, what? I think what we actually wound up doing was they assumed the loans and made them commercial. And then I want to say they cash out refied them, at least one of them.
Okay.
But we walked away with cash from the title office.
I love it. I love those deals. You love those deals.
Lots of cash, like a lot of cash. Like we have enough to invest in another multifamily.
That's awesome. That's the goal, right? Take that money,
but it was
invest it, and then pretty much all you're going to do is you're just going to get the full value of the property at closing. You're going to get a check for the full value of the property at closing.
Well, it wasn't quite the full, but it was. I mean,
no, I'm saying if you do that, if you took that money and bought another one, and that.
Was no.
Yeah.
We could turn around and buy another $30,000 home.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what it's about, right? I mean, isn't that the rule? What is it? The rule of, I forget, rule of 5, where anyway, but yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But, and then like the first house we have, I know we've cash out refied it at least once.
Okay.
And we used it to buy another house. Okay. So it's already at infinite returns.
Nice.
And then the second house we got here, we wound up borrowing money from somebody else to cover the 20%.
Yeah.
And then we're going to use part of the proceeds that we picked up on this this portfolio to pay that loan off.
Yep.
And then we're back to like, that means the last 3 houses we got, we didn't come out of pocket for, not initially.
No, that's awesome.
And so
that is awesome. That's
great. It's really cool because so many people are afraid of real estate. They're like, I'll never learn how to do that. I can never do that. I can't figure that out. I don't have good enough credit, blah, 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 blah. And part of what I want to do is like figure out how to do like a crowd fund or like some kind of crowdfunding platform so that people can pay into it and then we can buy real estate together.
Right.
And I can show them this isn't that hard, friends.
Exactly. I've got a buddy that I mean, he is awesome. He's got the kindest heart in the world, and he helps me on anything I need to clean out or this or that, because I'm still a little hands-on on my stuff, more than I probably should be, but I kind of enjoy it a little bit. And he's always over there helping me and doing it and everything. I'm like, dude, I can show you how to do this. Oh, I don't want rentals. I'm like, no, I can show you how to do real estate investing without buying a thing. Oh, I don't know. And he just, he's always negative about himself. And it's like, but maybe that's not his game. Maybe that's not what he wants to do. And that's fine. I'm just like, man, I'm telling you, wouldn't making $30,000 extra a year, even just not even messing with it much. Wouldn't that help you out? Well, I just don't want to mess with that. Okay. And he's a great dude, man. Can't make somebody try to learn something you're gonna, what was it, Abraham Lincoln's quote who said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right?
Was that Lincoln or Ford?
I thought it was Lincoln, but maybe it is Ford. Maybe it's misattributed to Lincoln.
You're wrong. I am not a history person at all.
Let's Google
I can look it up.
You won't get it wrong there.
I just saw that quote like a week ago.
Yeah.
That's why
I saw another one from Lincoln that said, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
That's funny. I am going to Google it now, though.
Oh, okay.
If you think you're wrong.
No, if you think you can, whether you think you can or you can't.
That's right. If you think you can or you, I misspelled it. Or you think you can't, you're right. Okay, I found it.
Yeah.
Henry Ford.
Okay. Well, there you go then. Touche. I'm going to correct myself. I misremembered.
That doesn't mean it's right.
No, it probably does. Well, check the source. If it says Wikipedia, it means it's absolutely right.
That means it's wiki wisdom.
It's a joke. I know that's a little bit of a joke.
Oh, okay.
I've got a friend who every time he debates me, he pulls out Wikipedia as his reference, and I laugh.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I can't find a really good viable source there, but it's what came up
Right.
first. But it still could be
believe you.
wrong.
I'll believe you. I'm gonna trust but verify. Trust me, I'm gonna verify.
Okay. Well, had I not seen it like recently, I wouldn't have remembered that. But it's like I could pop it up in my head still.
And for a very quick second, I thought you meant Gerald Ford. So I was like, I don't think that was him because I was on President, in Lincoln, and you said,
Oh.
"What's Ford?" I'm like, Gerald Ford? And I don't think so.
This is going to sound really bad. Like, I have no clue who that is, but I know he's a president.
Yeah, he was the one. He's the only president we've had that wasn't elected as either president or vice president. So
What?
Nixon was elected
That's why I know the
for a second
name.
term, and his vice president resigned after the election, and he assigned Ford or appointed Ford. And then when Nixon
Who also did not have a vice president.
What's that?
Ford also did not have a vice president.
He didn't have a vice president?
I don't think it was Nixon left.
Right.
And that guy finished out that term, but never had a vice president.
Okay.
And then my husband was telling me about it because we were debating what was going to happen if the president had to step down.
Oh, I see. Well, it says Nelson Rockefeller was Ford's vice president, but he assigned it. So Rockefeller wasn't elected either. But yeah, so Ford wasn't elected president or vice president, and then obviously didn't get elected when he went on his own, tried to win his own election. That's when Carter beat him in 76. But Gerald Ford, and I'm sorry, I thought this from the beginning, and Gerald Ford, or better, I could say, and I apologize, I'm going to offend any of your audience, but Joe Biden is Gerald Ford 2.0. That's it. Gaffes galore. They made fun of Gerald Ford just because he just couldn't say things right. He tripped over things a lot. He just a bumbling goofball. But anyway, that's Joe Biden.
That was the conversation Jason was having about if somebody stepped down, because people are saying that if the vice president comes up, then is it Speaker of the House comes up?
Well, they're like, so if president and vice president both are removed from office or whatever, and in a time where the vice president can't appoint a new vice president when he becomes president, then the Speaker of the House becomes president. So like if they were both horrible, I won't say the A word, I'll say they both died in a plane crash or something, and then the Speaker of the House would be the president, become president.
Yeah. But if just the vice president moves up, they can choose a vice president, or they don't have to have one.
Right. Yeah.
I was not aware of all this stuff. My husband and I take daily walks, and we were discussing it the other day.
Nice. That's awesome. That's good stuff to have talks about. It is.
We're just weird.
Especially, no, I mean, and I don't know if your political, ideology lines up together, but if it does, those are nice conversations. Those are nice walks. If you're like, what was it, Arnold Schwarzenegger and his wife had complete polar opposite, like she was a Kennedy, I think, wasn't she? And he was a staunch Republican, and she was a Kennedy. It was like, yeah, I don't think that was probably the one conversation thing they could not have at any time was politics.
I just don't even know how people that are polar opposite that way could maintain a healthy relationship. True. There'd be too many different ideologies to be able to reconcile.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right. How does it not come up at some point? Just, I mean, how does it not play into your? I know people, politics aren't everything, and they're not. Yeah, I get it. But if you are at polar opposites, eventually something's going to cross, and you're going to have a drop down, drag out argument.
Yeah, no, I've been really curious and just watching my friends that post on Facebook that are into real estate.
Okay.
And they've made some really political posts, and I tend not to. Like, I don't think I've made a single political post just because I don't want an opinion to be the reason why someone doesn't want to be a part of my brand.
True.
And so I just kind of leave it out there, but I've been really amazed at how many people have just thrown that to the wayside and gone all in, like bloody fights with one another. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
holy night.
I made one post this cycle, and I usually my degree is in political science, so I love political science. I love politics. I love the whole thing, but I made one post that was basically coming out against the Illinois tax issue that was up for what I call a progressive tax, where you're taxed on your right now in Illinois, your income tax is a flat tax. Everybody pays 3%, 6%, whatever it is. But they were, and that's according to the Illinois Constitution. But they were proposing an amendment to the Constitution that would let them, anybody making this dollar amount and more has to pay 95% or whatever, the progressive tax. So
closer to the federal taxation system.
Right. Which is actually funny because on the ballot, it even gave an explanation for the amendment. They're like, do you want to vote for Amendment 2? What this means is Illinois' taxes will be done more like the federal government and the majority of states. It even said that. I mean, literally, that was the wording on the ballot. It's like, oh, well, we want to be just like everybody else. Yeah. Thank goodness it was defeated. We don't want to be the oddball.
So, well, I remember when Forbes was running for president, and he was a big proponent of a flat tax.
Yeah.
And he came and did a big talk at Baylor while I was there. And I had a chance after he spoke to go up on stage and ask him about the flat tax because it didn't make sense to me, and it still doesn't. Okay. Because like 6% to me is way different than 6% to somebody that makes half of what I do.
But if you think about it, it doesn't, right? I mean, that's the only, because that was the point that my friend was making, my high school friend was making, that it's very regressive. I get it. I get what you're saying. However, and the measure they were pushing was, pass the Illinois fair tax. They were even calling it the fair tax. I'm like, it's not fair. You're charging this person 85%, this person 0%. That's not fair. The percentage is the only fair thing, right? I mean, mathematically, that is the definition of fair. 10% of 10 is 10%, and 10% of 100 is 10%, but it hurts each person the same. You only get 90% of what you had, but I get it. If you're only making $1,000,
$100,000 a year is a lot less painful than 10% of $20,000 a year.
Well, it depends. Is that person living beyond their means as well, or not as well necessarily? Like the person with $10,000 is living beyond their means, but you don't know that person's situation. They may have exponentially more expenses than the other person does. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I just don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of the government telling me how my money should be used to help others.
That's true, and I would probably be more open to let's talk about different things of tax if I trusted where the money was going. If I was like, you're not just blowing the money on whatever. Yeah, I would probably be okay. Let's talk. But and even then, I go volunteer at a homeless shelter. Well, pre-COVID. The firm I work for, we volunteer to serve lunch at a homeless shelter, and I go almost every single month. At least there may be a conflict here or there, but I do that, and that's just out of my kindness of my heart. It's not but it makes me feel good. I'm helping other people, but it's not done with a gun to my face. It's not done, and that's what the government is, right? The government forces you at the threat of violence called jail or whatever to do this, whatever, to pay into this program or whatever. Whereas I'm a big proponent that you should do it based on how you feel or believe. That it shouldn't be based on threat of violence. But that's just me.
Well, I think that too, our experience, we have a special needs son, and so there was a point in time where my husband was working, I was not. We just had our second child. My youngest brother and sister had just moved into us. Or had just moved in with us. So we went from a family of 3 to a family of 6 in less than a year.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, well, there's all these programs we can get for Anson. Let's do it. So I had him signed up for like MDCP, which is the Medically Dependent Children's Program, HCS, Home and Community-Based Services, CLASS, which is like Community Living and Assistance. I forget what the other ones are, but we're still on the wait list for a couple of them. We were on MDCP for a while. We were even on the Medicaid buy-in for a while, which is where, as a family of 6, you can make up to $100,000 a year and still purchase Medicaid for like $50 a month or something.
Wow. Okay.
But it was like the inefficiencies. Holy night. So we were getting an adaptive stroller for Anson. Basically, it's a wheelchair, but it's called an adaptive stroller.
Okay.
And we waited 12 months. At the end of 12 months, we got kicked out of the MBEC program, the medical buy-in, because we made too much money because my sister had by then left for college. So we were a household of 5, and I forgot to add in our next kid before it expired. We had 6, but I missed it by like 4 or 5 days. And but anyway, so we went fully private insurance. Within 48 hours, we had his adaptive wheelchair 100% covered.
Oh, and yeah, that's, you know, that I hate to even get into politics about this, but you're right.
And his 18, yeah. Then we waited 18 months for his car seat, and we had gotten a car seat that would hold up to 110 pounds. I think it was a Britax that somebody had given me, and he was just he's a stocky kid,
Okay.
So it was getting to be an uncomfortable feel, even though it was supposed to carry 110 pounds, and the car seat was like, I don't know, $6,000 or $7,000 because medical equipment is just stupid.
Yeah.
As far as the cost of it, 18 months we waited. We finally got it, but 18 months, and it was just like, yeah.
But yeah, I know. But anyway,
it's that firsthand experience with government programs that just makes me blanket dislike the majority of government programs, if not all of them.
I can imagine. I mean, let me relate that to real estate. Okay. I mean, how in the world are you going to do that? Let me pull this out of my hat. No, you see all, everybody, we'll close within 7 days. We'll close within 3 days. You can, that's fine. As long as there's no problem with the title, as long as there's no goof at the county about how it was recorded, any of that stuff. Yeah, you can do that. Sure. I stopped having anything to do with that kind of verbiage in my contracts. All of my contracts say 60 days or less. And people are like, what? How are you getting sellers to sign 60 days? It's easy because I have a personal experience story to share if they ever bring it up, which only a handful of people have ever brought it up. I'm just like, yeah, we're going to, because it says on or before, or sometimes it'll say by certain day, right? So I'll tell them, look, we don't make money till we buy the house and we want to make some money. So why would I push it off? But I put that in there because the one time that I bought a house from a guy who bought it from a gal, who bought it from another guy, who bought it from a guy from a tax sale. And that like 4th line back tax sale, the deed was recorded wrong. We couldn't close until the county fixed it 45 days later. So I had to go back and actually get an extension 3 times with the seller. And at any point there, that could fall apart. At any point when you have to go back to the seller and try to get them to sign something else, it could fall apart. They could say, no, I don't want to sign. So my attorney advised, why don't you just make it 60 days? That covers the initial 2 weeks and 45 days in case something happens. So I said, okay. So I've done that, and only a handful of people have ever mentioned it. And I flat out tell them, in case something comes back with the title, every once in a while you'll get the person, well, my parents have owned this 60 years. I'm like, yeah, but you never know, something might come up. And that's what I do. I just make it 60 days, blanket. I'm going to try to close it as soon as I can. I'm not going to, let's hold off and push it all the way to 60 days. I'm not in the business of putting a house under contract just to hold on to it. Yeah, that's not.
No, I mean, that's kind of what we did this last time, because it was like, it kind of unraveled some, and because it started off with 6 houses, and then it was 5. And then it was, here's 2 because we're going to sell these other 3 as singles. And these things were unraveling, and the financing wasn't happening. And it was just too many moving parts.
Sure.
But it was super cool to learn. We had looked at purchasing 2 houses before, but we were trying to finance them traditional. Now that I know about this whole commercial thing, had we purchased those houses commercial, we could have done it. Because the thing is we could have purchased both houses cash.
Wow.
We couldn't get financing on them.
No kidding. Man.
And these weren't $30,000 homes. I think it's 125. And we were like, we've basically got the cash on hand. We can get the cash on hand for sure. Right. But the bank wouldn't finance it.
Wow. That's wow.
So we wound up losing that deal. But now that I've done this, the commercial thing is, I mean, the interest rates are higher.
Okay.
They are. But if you include that in your calculations, somebody else is paying it anyway.
Sure. That's so true.
All right. I'm all over this commercial thing now. It's I don't think we'll do another loan that's not commercial.